August 31st, 2019 was one of the most tragic days in the history of the Permian Basin. It was a dark hour, but the way that our community was so resilient in the aftermath of such a dark tragedy, I think speaks to the people of West Texas.
That was one of the saddest days that's happened in Odessa. A lot of people were scared, but our community came together.
We come together as a community. We come together in unity and remembrance.
5 years has passed, but they are still in our prayers. We all remember it like it was yesterday, and we're here to support and love each other.
Wow, your heart will always go out to them. You'll never stop thinking about them. Those that passed and those that were injured and those that carry the scars as family members and friends of those folks.
It was our darkest hour, but we also shined a very bright light for all the world to see that day.
There are just some things we don't get over. We just learn how to live with it, and this is one of those times. And prayers work. We need to pray for those individuals, those family members that lost loved ones, and just keep praying for those individuals who are living with the memory of this day 5 years ago, and stay vigilant, stay together, and continue as one.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us tonight as we look back 5 years ago at the tragic mass shooting that happened right here in Odessa. I'm Chris Talley.
And I'm Madeline Dunn. I sat down with State Representative Brooks Landgraf, who says our community has come a long way since that tragic day.
August 31st, 2019 really underscored how important it is for us to be neighborly to each other. And, some days we do get away from that. But I do think that there were a lot of lessons that were learned that day, and we continue, at least on our better days, to remember how important it is for all of us to support each other and how important it is to maintain a sense of community. That brought us together in a way that we haven't seen in decades here in the Permian Basin. And I do think that as we approach this anniversary, it always happens where we do have a renewed sense of that spirit. The Layla Hernandez Act established the Texas Active Shooter Alert System. So it's like an Amber Alert system that is designed to be activated when there is a mobile mass shooter anywhere in the state of Texas. I worked with Joanna Leyva, who is the mother of Layla Hernandez, and Layla was the youngest victim that we lost 5 years ago. And this act is named in her honor, and Layla alerts are issued anytime that there is another situation that arises like this. And it's designed to arm the public with information so that they can take protective measures to protect themselves and their family in the event of a mobile rampage like we saw here in the Permian Basin 5 years ago. So there was a unanimous support for that in the Texas legislature. Joanna, Layla's mother, came to testify, and her story really compelled the state to enact that as a law.
If I'd known my daughter would have lost her life that day, I would have hugged her more.
Layla alerts have not been issued yet because the circumstances have not called for it. I do remain in constant communication with DPS to make sure that it will be issued when it's necessary, and we're also always looking for opportunities to expand the definition. We want to make sure that it's working for the people of Texas, and we want to make sure that we're memorializing Layla's life in the process.
We don't sleep at nights. There's good days or bad days.
I just encourage everybody when we approach these anniversaries, especially here on the 5th anniversary, to remember how you felt that day. Remember how we came together as a community to give blood to people we'd never even met before, because that was what the moment required. But we can always have moments where we can help out our neighbors and our fellow West Texans. And I've maintained close relationships with many of the survivors of that day and the families of some of the fallen. And I know that that's what they would want all of us to do too. So I think the way that we can best memorialize those we lost is to remember to be kind to each other, and when we have neighbors in need, don't hesitate to help.
Now, there's been a lot of change since the shooting that killed 7 people 5 years ago.
We sat down with our local law enforcement as they look back on that tragic day.
One of the big things that we looked at was just the inability to find this person. So we've put up cameras around town. We have some license plate readers around town now. And it helps us fight crime on a daily basis. But if you think about a situation like that, we could have found that person a lot quicker. Absolutely. That technology didn't exist for us at that point. We have taken steps to make sure that if that ever happens again, we can solve the issue much quicker. Right. Since then, we have upgraded. We've got iPaws in place now, which will blast those messages out whether you sign up for it or not. And then, of course, there's the Layla's Law that it's like an Amber Alert, but it's a mass shooter alert that would go out and notify everyone also. We had alert training then. Alert is the program that every police officer in the state of Texas, now it's mandated, has to go through, that it's active shooter training, response training. But we had some then, but we continue to increase our alert training.
At that time, we only had a certain number of vehicles that whatever shift was working, they utilized those vehicles. They were used 24 hours a day. Since that time, we have attained a fleet of vehicles in which every officer that we have has a take-home vehicle. If something were to arise, a disaster, tornado, shooter, whatever, all those individuals are subject to call out. So essentially, we could quadruple the amount of people we have on the street at any given time if the need arises. My very first lieutenant told me many years ago, upon him losing a daughter-in-law to a murder suspect and a granddaughter being injured, he told me at that time, there's just some things we don't get over. We just learn how to live with it, and this is one of those times. And the biggest thing with this is just the devastation to the families, of the victims, to the deceased, to the injured that carry those scars with them forever. You know, those. Wow, your heart will always go out to them. You'll never stop thinking about them. Those that passed and those that were injured and those that carry the scars as family members and friends of those folks. We as a community were solidified that day here and became one. We got a bunch of good people in our community, and we need to take care of each other.
Now, as a way to move forward, the community came together at a memorial to honor those that died.
A ceremony unveiling the memorial was held last night. Take a look.
So for those that lived in Odessa 2019, August 31st, and those that are transplants that are new, it's 5 years since we had the mass shooting that occurred that Labor Day weekend. This is the 5th anniversary. This is the first year that the memorial is now erected. It's not complete, but they're on their way. So we come together as a community. We come together in unity and remembrance and resiliency of what this community went through, has gone through, and how it's been stronger and how it's come out of it stronger, more united, more resilient, and more determined. And this is why we've come up with the hashtag Stronger Together. And so tonight we'll be revealing it to the community, this memorial in remembrance of our city, those that we lost, with those families and prayers. And it's a reminder that what happened, and we'll never forget.
Well, I think if you look behind me, behind the trees, you'll see this beautiful rainbow, which I doubt is accidental. So let's take a moment to enjoy that beautiful piece of art in the sky that God sent. The Bright Star Memorial stands not only as a tribute to those who were directly impacted, but also as a beacon of hope and resilience.
I think it's vital that we remember. That was one of the saddest days that's happened in Odessa. A lot of people were scared, but our community came together. Our police department did an excellent job. All our law enforcement did an excellent job to make us feel safer. And that really brought us together as a community better, more than a lot of events have. It was amazing how the community came together after that.
It's a time for us to come together and remember what it was like, the silence as the city and everybody huddled in their living rooms together that night, trying to make sense of what had happened. And so it's, once again, we'll be doing that tonight.
I just think it's important to remember the victims and to make sure that you love your family and hug them every chance you get, because you never know when something's going to happen.
Today, we also talked to the Odessa Chamber of Commerce.
They say the way people are looking back is evident all across town.
You can drive by Memorial Park on 42nd Street and see the beautiful yellow flags that are flying this week with the names of those who we lost and those who were injured. This memorial that has been set up at UT Permian Basin, we've worked on for the last 5 years, and that is, near completion. And that took a lot of dollars from the community. People have stepped up, and people continue to do quiet things for these families that no one else knows. I know of a local fireman who sends flowers every year to those families and just does that because he cares and he loves them. And we want those families to understand that 5 years has passed, but they are still in our prayers. We all remember it like it was yesterday, and we're here to support and love each other.
And our thoughts are with those who were impacted by this tragedy.
Together, we are West Texas Strong.